Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brad by Fitness, and I want to do a video on how to improve your trap bar deadlift. This is like, honestly, this is probably the fourth time I've shot this video because it is kind of a complicated video. It's not the same as some of the other videos that I've shot for ACFT stuff because it is such a broad topic and it encompasses so many different areas. So the overarching idea here is to try to help you guys improve your trap bar deadlift for the ACFT. So first and foremost, the very first thing I want to say is that you may have to come with grips with the fact that you just need to get stronger, right? So if you're like, hey, I'm not good at the trap bar deadlift, you might not be strong enough. And that's like, it's just a reality. And the sooner that you can come to grips with that and then address that issue, the better off you're going to be in terms of being able to get better faster. So one of the things that I would say that's very, very important is if you don't have a trap bar deadlift available to you, it's not the end of the world. Because if you're significantly strong enough on just a regular straight bar deadlift, the trap bar is not going to be any more difficult. So anyone that can deadlift, 400 plus pounds is not going to have any issue deadlifting the maximum 340 on the trap bar deadlift. So simply using the excuse of not having the appropriate equipment is not a valid excuse. You can get very sufficiently strong with just a straight bar deadlift and be very well set up to be able to perform the trap bar deadlift. So that's another kind of caveat that I want to throw right from the beginning. And if you don't happen to have a straight bar or you're really hurting for equipment, you can also do stuff like kettlebell deadlifts or dumbbell deadlifts or whatever, right? So like you have to work within the constraints of the environment that you're in. So whatever equipment that you have, you just got to make the best of where you are. And ultimately, your end state is to get a little bit stronger at deadlift so that you can perform better on the ACFT trap bar deadlift. And again, just to drive the point home, if you don't have a trap bar deadlift to train on, it's not the end of the world. If you can deadlift 400 plus pounds on a straight bar, you're going to be able to max on the trap bar deadlift, no problem. Okay, so in addressing the trap bar deadlift and looking at how we kind of break down the lift and the movement is first and foremost you have your foot position, right? How you are relating to the ground in order to be able to apply power to the bar. So unlike a straight bar deadlift, right, there's only so wide I can get my legs, right? Otherwise I'm gonna run into the apparatus. So what I would recommend is that you have your legs directly underneath your hips. So right under, right? So once you're here and you're kind of center line of the bar, I would recommend that the very center of the bar, so if we were gonna draw a line through the bar like a straight bar deadlift, that line should kind of be at the front of your shins. So you're gonna be positioned a little bit more toward the rear of the apparatus than more forward, right? So you wanna be in a position where once you bend down, your hands are center line. So you can figure out where center line is by if you grab too far forward and pull up, the whole apparatus is gonna shift like this. If you reach too far backward and pull up, the whole apparatus is gonna shift like that. So that's a really good way to tell if your grip isn't centered. You wanna make sure that your grip is center line so that you can have balance when you hold onto that bar. You don't want the apparatus tilting forward or backward. So we'll level out the device. Foot position, I'm in line with the bar. So my feet are in line with the bar. I'm gonna grab what I believe is center line. I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure, and sure enough, that bar isn't tilting. So a good grip position is gonna help you be a little bit more successful at application of power onto the bar. Now, one of the failure points that you're gonna have when you're deadlifting, right, is going to be grip. So a failure point is gonna absolutely be your grip. So if you wanna get better at your trap bar deadlift, you may need to work on your grip strength. And there are a variety of things that you can do to work on grip strength. You can do dead hangs on a pull-up bar. So just body weight, right? So go for 10 seconds and hold it. And once you can do 10 seconds, you can do a few sets of 10 seconds, Go to 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Just increase it, just increase the time, and you will continue to get stronger. And then if you get to a point where you're holding on for a minute or so, or you start getting bored by hanging onto the bar because your grip isn't failing, start adding weight. You can use a dip belt or some other way of adding weight, a band, a dumbbell. You can have somebody kind of manually put pressure on you and pull you down. Again, you're only limited by your ingenuity and how creative that you can be, but something like that would be a great option. You can also just do static holds. So static holds with dumbbells, static holds with kettlebells, static hold with a barbell. If you have a power rack or any kind of a stand, you can load up the barbell with however much weight and stand and just do static holds. If you don't have a lot of weight available to you, you might be able to do a static hold with just one hand in the center of the barbell. That could also be a way that you can continue to work on your grip strength. So grip strength is going to be a failure point when it comes to the trap bar deadlift. So continuing to develop your grip strength is going to help you overall. All right, so another factor for your being able to be successful with a trap bar deadlift is going to be back strength. So one thing that people fail on when they're deadlifting is when they start getting up thoracic position and they start rolling forward. That can be a lack of appropriate back strength. So if that is a problem for you while you deadlift, you want to make sure that you work on that overall back strength. And really honestly, again, a variety of things are going to help you develop upper back strength. You can do seated cable rows. You can do bent dumbbell rows, also known as chainsaws. You can do bent barbell rows. You can do seated pull downs. You can do cable high pulls, right? So there are really, again, a variety of exercises that you can select that will increase the overall strength of your upper back. But increasing your upper back strength is going to help you maintain the appropriate position so that you're not giving up that thoracic positioning and defeating yourself while you're performing the deadlift. So upper back strength is going to be huge, and it'll be an area where a lot of people fail. Okay, so aside from grip strength and upper back strength, another thing that is a huge component of any big lift, whether it's a squat, a bench, or a deadlift, is going to be your abdominal bracing. So learning how to breathe appropriately is going to be a huge thing for most of you across the force that will help you immeasurably in performing your trap bar deadlift. And what you want to do is you want to have appropriate abdominal pressure. So not too dissimilar from a soda can. If you take a soda can before it's been opened up and you try to crush down that soda can, that can will not crush. You can stand on that thing, it's not going to move. But as soon as you pop it and you release that pressure, you can crush the can actually pretty easily. So your abdominal cavity is much the same way. If you don't have appropriate pressure in your abdominal cavity is going to fold and crush in just like that can. So maintaining appropriate abdominal pressure is going to be a really, really important thing. I recommend utilization of a belt. So if you have a belt available to you, or you can borrow one, or your local gym has one, or whatever, and you can practice with a little bit of abdominal activation and abdominal pressurization by utilizing that belt. That belt gives you a kinesthetic cue. It's something that's touching you that gives you that cue to be able to push and drive against it. So those are really, really great tools in order to appropriately learn abdominal bracing. Oftentimes with people that I coach, I will often put that belt on them, and I will put my fingers in between the belt and their stomach and tell them to crush my fingers, right? So they can begin to expand out and pressurize, and that teaches them that abdominal pressurization. Along with that abdominal pressure, you want to make sure that the breathing rate is in place. So before you begin to accept that weight and begin to stand, you want to make sure you take a good deep breath, abdominally pressurize, and then maintain that breath hold. Do not breathe until you've come back down again. So big breath, drive, down, and that's when you can breathe out, breathe back in, and then repressurize. So for the purposes of the ACFT, for the 3-rep deadlift, you want to make sure that you're only breathing once the weight is on the ground. You don't want to let any breath out on your way up, and you don't want to let anything out on the way down. You want to maintain that good abdominal pressurization so you can maintain a better back position. When you start breathing out and depressurizing, you give up that thoracic positioning, and it can defeat you or defeat your efforts or work against you while you're trying to maintain maximal power against that bar. So that's another hypercritical factor in order to help you deadlift for the trap bar, the ACFT deadlift much more proficiently. Okay, so we've talked about a number of facets with the trap bar deadlift. We've talked about grip, we've talked about back strength, we've talked about breathing, and we've talked about just generally getting stronger. I cannot emphasize that point enough. If you are not very good at the trap bar deadlift or just deadlifting in general, you are going to have to spend some time and some energy in order to be a little bit more proficient and stronger in the deadlift. And again, I don't mean to be trite or condescending in saying, like, you might just need to be stronger. And that's just a reality we have to face. If you can look yourself in the mirror and you can recognize that you just need to be generally stronger, well then it gives you a starting place from which to begin and a direction to be able to move in. But if you can't be honest with yourself about the necessity for the improvement and the need for better strength development, then you're gonna have a hard time realistically approaching the trap bar deadlift in a way that's going to be beneficial for your overall improvement. I gave you a few different ideas about how to improve that grip. I gave you a few different ideas about how to improve back strength. But just generally deadlifting is going to be a really great way to be able to improve your overall performance for the trap bar deadlift. And again, if you are limited by the fact that you don't have the apparatus itself to train on, please don't allow that to be a limiting factor for you to continue to train. You can become quite strong in the deadlift and become very proficient deadlifter and never actually use a trap bar deadlift. I would tell you that for where I'm at, for how I train, I never once trap bar deadlifted ever in my life. And then it's only been since the advent of the ACFT that I've ever laid hands on a trap bar deadlift, and I have no problem maxing the weight because I am sufficiently strong enough. The last thing that I want to talk about is, well, maybe a couple factors that I want to talk about to kind of round this out, is injury avoidance. This is something that a lot of people are concerned about. So maintaining that good back position and not allowing yourself to kind of roll over and kitty cat is going to be a really big step forward into avoiding injury. So you want to make sure that you don't allow yourself to get into a disadvantageous position by allowing yourself to thoracically round like that, because you can get injured if you do that. You want to make sure that you remain symmetrical. So maintaining even pressure and even balance as you perform that deadlift is going to be important. If you start to twist or rotate, that twisting or rotating can definitely lead to a imbalance, and then it could also lead to an injury. So you want to make sure that you're symmetrical in your pressure. You want to make sure that you're maintaining kind of a neutral head position. In other words, you don't want to be looking down at the ground, and you don't want to be looking super high at the sky. You want to pick something that's maybe 10 feet in front of you and stare at an object in the distance so you can maintain a good neutral spine position. But largely, if you stay within your strength capacity, you're going to be pretty safe when performing the deadlift. In your training for deadlift, if you recognize the fact that you do need to get stronger, I would recommend that you stay with a rep range in the ballpark of 3 reps, say up to 5 reps. You know, you can go higher rep range, but it's gonna start falling off in terms of the adaptation for strength development. And I don't want you going to single reps or anything like that, because if you keep putting yourself to a max, you're not really developing strength. So maxing isn't building strength, it's just testing strength. So you want to make sure that you're testing your strength, you want to make sure you're building strength. So stay in that 3 to 5 rep range for your training purposes, and you should be able to sufficiently avoid injury while trying to also improve your overall performance. All right, and then the last tip that I'll offer you guys in my closing thoughts on the trap bar deadlift is a deadlift is not so much a hip hinge like this. It really is more like a leg press or a belt press. In other words, everything just kind of in unison. So you want your hips and your hips and your chest to rise together. If you find that your hips are shooting up and then your upper back is coming up, that's a problem position to be in and not optimal. So you want to make sure that as you position, legs underneath the bar, grip in the middle, neutral spine, big breath, and drive. So as you can see, as I perform that, everything rises in unison. The more that you can get all those muscle groups firing together in unison, the stronger and more proficient you're going to be in the movement, and the less opportunity for failure that you'll have. So yeah, that is it, guys. Those are kind of my quick thoughts on the trap bar deadlift. Now this again is a bit of a different video because the topic is so vast and there are so many different aspects of musculature and strength that will affect this movement more so than most of the other ones. So it's not like a one size or one quick solution to how to get better at deadlifting. It really is kind of an all-encompassing topic that really covers the expanse of your musculature. So what you need to do is be prescriptive. If you see or you can detect that you're failing at a certain point, you need to look at where you're failing and make assessments about how you can make improvements for those failure points. Whether it's at the lower part of the bar or of the lift where you can't get the bar off the ground, or maybe it's at the upper portion of the lift where you can't quite lock it out. Those failures are different failures, and the prescription to correct those failures is different. So you need to make sure that you're looking at where you fail, specifically you, and then you can make that prescriptive analysis about how to improve and be more proficient with the lift. That's it, guys. I could probably talk for a lot longer about this topic, and I'm sure that there are probably some things that I've left out. So if there is a topic or something along the lines of this that you feel I haven't covered sufficiently or you have additional questions, please leave in the comments box below. I'll be sure to respond. I appreciate you guys continuing to support me in the channel with everything that you do. I would appreciate if you guys would share this with other soldiers, squad leaders, platoon sergeants, XOs, company commanders, anyone that you know that has some measure of influence about how you perform your training. Share this type of content with them because it hopefully will give them some ideas about how to best prepare their troops to be more proficient at the lift. And that's all I could ever hope for, is seeing soldiers get stronger and more proficient at what they do. Anyway, that's it, guys. Yeah, remember, no matter what it is you think you can't do, get a little stronger with the trap bar deadlift. You got to get in and train to spite. You're either going to find an excuse, you're going to find a way, and I hope that you guys continue to find the way. I appreciate you checking this video out, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.